I've always loved making things since I was a kid. Dumpster diving to find bits and pieces to cut, tape, stick and staple together into whatever my imagination could come up with. And with that being said, I've been fascinated by how accessible 3D printers and the hobby of 3D printing has become to the average consumer over the last few years. However, it wasn't until 2020 when my nephew got his first Ender 3 3D printer that my eyes were truly opened to this craft. He was churning out amazing creations on a day-to-day basis, and every single one of them were just blowing my mind. Now, as much as I wanted to buy a 3D printer, I was pretty intimidated by all of the jargon like bed leveling and slicing and extrusion and filament types. I kind of felt like I wasn't smart enough or qualified enough to actually buy one. So to keep things simple, 3D printers basically melt plastics and other similar materials into the precise shapes of anything your imagination could come up with. It does this by taking your two-dimensional design in a piece of software and sending it to the printer, guiding a nozzle with pinpoint accuracy to create a 3D object. And the things you can 3D print these days is bonkers, from small fidget toys all the way up to full-size wearable Iron Man armor and everything in between. With that being said, one of my biggest inspirations to get into the hobby was a YouTube channel called Frankly Built. On that channel, Frank showcases his creations, advises on 3D printers and techniques, and will even teach you how to build a fully 3D printed Iron Man armor. I'll put a link to Frank's channel in my description. You should definitely check him out. So after research overkill, I found myself stuck on which 3D printer to buy. Really, there was 3 points that I wanted to address. How quickly would I be able to pick up all the knowledge I needed to get into this hobby? Where in my house would I be able to put this 3D printer? And would this 3D printer be safe around my children? Now, while I was going around in circles with these questions, one of my favorite brands, Anker, a company that has literally been my go-to for so many tech accessories and devices, jumped into the mix with the AnkerMake M5, and then shortly after, a slightly pared down and more affordable printer called the AnkerMake M5C. And at this point, I guess it's worth mentioning that I'm not being sponsored by Anker, and I bought this 3D printer with my own money, so you know that I'm just genuinely a fan of this brand. Now, one of the things that caught my attention about the AnkerMake M5C was that it promised to be one of the most beginner-friendly 3D printers out there. And after doing a little bit more research, I was able to bag myself a great deal online in the sales. And just like that, I was the owner of my first ever 3D printer. Accompanying it was Anker's very own iOS and online application that demystified the process of finding or designing things to print. It literally promised to be as simple as finding the thing you want to print in its catalogue and hitting the print button. And if this was the case, then this literally was the 3D printer I've been looking for all along. Now, one of the other things that sets the 5C apart from the other 3D printers on the market is how easy it is to set up. It literally comes in 2 pieces, a handful of screws and a few connectors to connect. In around 15 minutes, I had the whole thing built and ready to go. To get me started, I used PLA filament made by Anker. Now, any PLA filament from any other brand would work, but I just happened to get a good deal with this PLA filament along with the printer. So the next thing I did was download the AnkerMake iOS application, and this is the main interface with the 3D printer. Unlike the M5 and other 3D printers on the market which have built-in screens, the AnkerMake application is the only way of accessing settings and monitoring the 3D prints on your device. And for my first print, I followed the time-honored tradition of printing a little model ship called the Benchy. The 3D Benchy is a model specifically designed for testing the accuracy and capabilities of 3D printers, and is officially the most 3D printed item of all time. Pretty happy with how my Benchy came out. I was ready to hit the catalogue again and try and see if I could print something a little bit more complicated and interesting. And straight into my next print, without changing any settings, I was able to print this incredible dragon. If the detail was not enough to blow my mind, the fact that it printed joints in place to make it fully articulated was pure witchcraft. The simplicity, quality, and user-friendly app-based approach makes this device, in my opinion, the best way of getting into the world of 3D printing. And as a side note, as a person who appreciates design and technology, I think the aesthetics of a device are important too. And this is a really good looking device. It wouldn't look bad in any room around your house. Interestingly, the C in the 5C designation stands for compact. For me, it was really important that I could put this 3D printer on my desk alongside my 27-inch monitor without it overcrowding the workspace. And due to the compact design of this 3D printer, it fitted perfectly, which is a big win for me. If you want to get an idea of how much space this takes, I'd say this takes about 48 by 48 centimeters on the footprint and about a height of 78 centimeters. In regards to safety, by the nature of 3D printing itself, obviously this device gets really hot when it's on the job, and I keep my kids well away. I've also decided only to use PLA filament, which stands for polylactic acid, which although sounds dangerous, is actually a non-toxic material made from natural resources. Now, although not completely silent, the M5C is one of the more quieter 3D printers on the market, and so far I've had no major problems with the sound it makes when it's printing. And in case it's not obvious already, I'm over the moon with my AnkerMake 5C. It's the exact 3D printer I was looking for all along. I'm super excited about all the projects I've got planned for this device. I plan to print lots of quirky little things. I plan to print useful things. I plan to really embrace this craft. And you never know, I might even print myself a full-size Iron Man armor suit too. You just have to wait and see. So if you're interested in 3D printing or just cool technology like this and found this video useful or interesting, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel for more videos like it. Until then, see ya. Peace.